So, Michael Antonelli, what is it? Let me give you a choice. Is it fundamental underlying growth that really is sustainable on the one hand, or is it, I said yesterday, we stopped beating our head against the wall so it feels so good? Whether it's U.S.-China trade or whether it's Brexit and things like that, is it relief from pain, or is there fundamental underlying growth sustaining this?
Yeah, I think it's probably relief from pain would be my guess. I mean, we know that markets trade on better or worse, not good news or bad news, in the very short term. So, things generally got better as 2019 went on, and it's been a heck of a year, certainly. But I want to go back to this notion that the U.S. economy is either slowing dramatically or growing dramatically, because both of those have been essentially wrong. The best theory of economic growth over the past decade has been this notion of muddle through, that the economy can continue to muddle through with a low unemployment rate and 2 to 3% growth. Those are sufficient for the stock market. Those are sufficient for companies to continue to expand their profits. So people that keep trying to predict either way have been wrong, where ultimately just falling back to this notion that the U.S. economy is fine as it muddles through these issues has been the best kind of theory.
So, Michael Antonelli, when you think about that aspect of it, though, is some of the positive, sentiment that we have here in the U.S., is that more a reflection of the fact that things weren't necessarily good overseas? So it was more just that relative value type of outlook that people had for the U.S. versus the rest of the world? And is that going to continue into 2020?
Yeah, I think it does. And I've used this point before on this show. The U.S. consumer at many times in history literally holds the world on its shoulders. And the U.S. consumer, I think, in 2019, once again, held the world on its shoulders and said that I have a job, I'm confident about my pay, my wages are increasing, I have a home that I'm investing in. And I think the consumer ultimately held its flashlight out and walked ahead and pulled the U.S. through the darkness. And yes, we're just relatively better. Think of the makeup of our stock market. The tech companies that dominated this past decade, those are all U.S. based. Everything kind of structurally for the U.S. worked this decade. And I think that continues into the next decade.